You cannot escape what fate the norms have spun. Now be gone!
Today we are ranking the albums of Ensiferum, and we're starting with Ensiferum in 2001. Beginning their career with Yari fronting, now arguably more known for his Winter Sun project. Opinions aside about him as a person, he is a very talented guitarist, and both that and his vocals shine strong here with some of his best work, in my opinion. Pretty much every song on here is single-worthy. We've got an incredible opener in the super hype Hero in a Dream, followed up by more insanely earworm riffing on Token of Time and Guardians of Fate, which is definitely one of my favorites and impossible to not sing along to. Also, Little Dreamer, Battle Song with that great bass line and use of organ, and Wind Rider is another personal favorite of mine with more headbang-worthy riffs. If someone is looking for a place to start with this band or with folk metal in general, I always bring this album up first. It is going to perfection. They follow that up with Iron in 2004. Picking up largely where we left off, to the point that these two pretty much feel like a double album despite the 3-year gap in between. More incredibly infectious tracks like Iron and Sword Chant with that fantastic, almost danceable acoustic intro. Then there's the super thrashy Slayer of Light, which would make for a great transitional track between genres. Also love Into Battle, which is even more fun live, as is the slower but no less catchy Lie Lie Hey, another top-notch record that I have listened to countless times. It is also the last with Yari, as he was ejected from the band, I believe, this same year, so it is going to perfection. Then we got Victory Songs in 2007. Petri stepping in on lead guitar and vocals, and also Sammy on bass, who I had the pleasure of interviewing before one of their shows, and is just one of the nicest people I've ever talked to. You can listen to that right here on the channel, by the way. Regardless, the transition is very seamless here, with Victory Songs easily being as strong as the first two records, with tracks like Blood is the Price of Glory showcasing all the same strengths in the guitar work and overall energy of the songwriting. You really can't ask for a more fun folk metal song than One More Magic Potion, either. Another one perfect for swinging a flagon of ale to. Wanderer is another slower but still very catchy track. Deathbringer from the Sky has some excellent synth work in addition to more great riffs, and another infectious chorus, and Ati is also fun. Killer album that's also very consistent, and another one that is going to perfection, starting their career very strong. Then we got From Afar in 2009. I've noticed that this is another fan favorite, and rightly so, with yet more great songs like Twilight Tavern, which I would put in their top 10 tracks. Elusive Reaches is a very strong deeper cut, and Stone Cold Metal, while a little cheesy, is just a damn good time. I also really like the Finnish language vocals on Closer Vanfaren, which I believe is a cover from Nordman. On the flip side, this is also where they start to lose me a little bit, because I prefer this band at their most concise, fast, and thrashy, but here they start introducing the longer, more atmospherically driven songs that are going to become more of a pattern. I think the ones here are better than some that come up later, and I like that they add some texture and dynamics. It would be boring if they just kept doing the same album over and over again, but there are also several moments on this album where I tend to skip forward, so slight drop from the previous ones, but still going to fantastic. Then we got Unsung Heroes in 2012. The lowest rated album on Metal Storm, with a 6.9 at the time I'm making this video, and it was also their voted biggest letdown of that year. That said, the comments since then have been much kinder to this record, and I enjoyed it a little bit more on this latest spin as well. Complaints were largely around the turn towards more, again, atmospheric, slower songs like Unsung Heroes and Burning Leaves. I will say that the female vocals and overall orchestration of Celestial Bond is quite lovely, and then if you want some ragers, we've still got a few in My Sword I Trust, which is super catchy with fun guitar work and a very infectious chorus. Retribution Shall Be Mine is a real shredder that borders on thrash at times, and Pahola has some fun chanting. Even so, it's still on the lower end for me. I'm just not a big fan of Star Queen or the 17-minute Passion Proof Power, and just in general, it's mostly very sleepy, so still gonna go to good. They followed that up with One Man Army in 2015. solid enough opening track, but feels a little recycled at this point. Heathen Horde is pretty fun, but I definitely enjoyed it more live. The title track is an easy standout, bringing the energy that I'm looking for, and that goes double for my favorite track here that I always come back to, which is Two of Spades. This is just so unlike any other song in their discography, and I wish they would experiment more like this. It's like a fusion of folk metal, spaghetti western soundtrack, and disco, and some of these sounds come back with the slide guitar and piano of closer Naito Poholan, albeit in a much lower key style. But once more, lots of slower tracks here that let the atmosphere shine, but are less interesting in the guitar work and often drag on a bit too long. Some of these are back-to-back too, which makes it all the more of an issue. Cry for the Earthbounds and the 11+ minute Descendants Defiance Domination get me particularly bored. The latter, I'm guessing, is supposed to be a sequel of sorts to Passion Proof Power, given the length and alliteration. More riffs, less melodrama, unless you can make it more interesting like early Equilibrium. I do think it's at least a better balance than the last one, so I'm putting this one at great tier. Then we got Two Paths in 2017. Killer mix of riffs and atmosphere with those epic hammer-ons and pull-offs of For Those About to Fight for Metal, bringing back some vibes from the earlier albums, as do the fun folky guitar hooks of Way of the Warrior. Don't You Say and God Is Dead are also fun, but I gotta say I prefer the bonus alternate versions with the harsh vocals swapped in. Not a big fan of the title track on this one due to the more simplistic, almost rock riffing and hit-and-miss vocal performance. Cool solo and accordion though. Another one that's kind of a mixed bag with some standouts and a few more forgettable tracks, but enjoyable overall, I would say. It's also going to great tier. Then we got Thalassic in 2020. The first album with new keyboardist and clean vocalist Pekka Montin, who brings a more power metal flavor to the proceedings, and I was excited by the prospect of shaking up the status quo by fusing these genres. I love the seafaring vibes going into the appropriately titled Seafarer's Dream, and then Rum Women Victory bursts through the gate with more of those trademark riffs, but this time alongside some very Dio-esque vocals. I also dig Run from the Rushing Tide with more high-octane energy and great interplay between the harsh and clean vocals, as well as the slower but no less memorable Four Sirens, and Midsummer Magic is another great drinking anthem. Pretty strong conclusion, too, in Cold Northland. This one has been a grower, but it's just nice to hear them evolving on this one, and it was just becoming a little bit stale in the formula, so again, I'd like to hear them kind of shake things up more. This one went to fantastic. Which brings us to Winter Storm in 2024. Now, I have the same complaints with Long Cold Winter that I've had with other longer, slower tracks, maybe even more so, as many of the melodies feel straight up recycled and there's no real crescendo. This comes after a fairly decent, if again somewhat forgettable opener, but I do enjoy that one. From Order to Chaos also ends up being mostly a snore, save for its final minute and a half or so. Fatherland seems like it could be a standout, but just feels like it's missing something. I will say that it seems like it would be better live. The female vocals, again on Scars in My Heart, are a nice change of pace, but I just don't find the song itself to be particularly interesting. Sad to say, even as a longtime fan, I found this to be pretty boring and frankly kind of disappointing. The only tracks I really enjoy are the opener, again Winter Storm Vigilante, and definitely the closer Victorious, which is easily the best one here. Again, what happened to the creativity? Where are the fresh ideas? People rip on Equilibrium, but at least they are trying new things. I like the idea of a winter-themed album, but especially side by side with the new Winter Sun, this just doesn't come even close to capturing the atmosphere. I'm always rooting for bands to succeed, especially in the unfairly maligned genre of folk metal, but this just did very little for me that their other albums don't already do much better, and so it's enjoyable. I can sit through it. I don't hate it, but it's another one that's going to land at good, and it's at one of my least favorites for now. Maybe that'll change with time. Y'all check out this playlist for more folk metal rankings, or check out this video for your personal YouTube recommendation. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.